For this problem, we are going to start off with number 5 in the practice problem set. I'm going to do a problem similar, and this is really going to be the only new rule for this week. So we'll go ahead and look at our rule sheet next. Okay, back to our rule sheet here. You're going to go to the second page, and the one we want to focus on is called intersecting secants on the exterior. So for this one, we have secant lines, and those lines, they intersect the circle. The difference between the chord, which would be like just this little B part, and the secant is that it continues to go. So like A plus B would be the secant. All right, so our rule here is that whatever this length is, A, we multiply that times the length of A plus B, and then that would be equal to the length of C times the length of this total C plus D. So that's what we're going to do. That's the rule we're going to use for problem number 5. This problem is similar to number 5 on your practice problems. We're using the rule we just went over. So A here would be this times A plus B, which would be the total 9 plus X. And then it's equal to C, which would be 8 in this case, times the total of 8 plus 19. So that's our setup. So we are going to say 9 times X plus 9 is equal to 8 times 8 plus 19. And I guess technically you could have written this as 9 plus X, but because you can change those when you're adding, I just wrote it like that. I think it's easier to look at. All right, so we're going to distribute. So we've got 9X plus 81 is equal to, here I think it's easiest if you just go ahead and add the two values together to get 27. And then here we would have 9X plus 81 is equal to 8 times 27 is 135. And then we're just going to solve for X. So you subtract 81 from both sides, you get 9X is equal to 135, and divide both sides by 9. We have X is equal to 15. So that's a problem that's similar to number 5. Our next problem, we are going to go back to our rule sheet. It's the second page, it's right next to the one we just did. So it's this one, intersecting tangent and secant on the exterior. So here we have a tangent line. Remember, this is just going to touch that circle in one place, and it's intersecting with the secant that goes through it. And the on the exterior part means it's intersecting outside of the circle rather than inside of the circle, like that one that's on the interior. So our rule here is whatever this little tangent piece is. Okay, I always think this looks like a little bird beak. Whatever part of that beak there is the tangent part, you're going to square that length, and set it equal to the length of this piece B times the total B plus C. So you can see this half of it's very similar to what we did over here. So now we're going to use this rule to do a problem on the whiteboard. Okay, so this problem is similar to number 6. We have our rule, we just talked about that. So for this one, we want to identify the A. So that's going to be our little tangent piece here. So the length of that tangent piece is 24. So we're going to say 24 squared is equal to, and then we come over here. So our B needs to be this part outside the circle. So that is going to be 18. And then we're going to multiply it by the total of this segment and that segment, which 18 plus X is how we would describe this. All right, so that's our setup, and now we just want to solve for X. So when we do this, we get 576 is equal to, you're going to distribute here, so we have 324 plus 18x, and then that gives us 18x is equal to, subtract the 324 from both sides, that's 252, so x is equal to 14. All right, and now we want to go and say, what are we being asked? We want to find the length of AD, which would be this whole thing. So we need to add 18 plus our value for x, which is 14, and then our answer is going to be 32. So that is the rule you're going to use for number 6 and a problem similar to it. We are on to a problem like number 7. This is definitely a review problem. This was on the first sheet of your notes, and at the very bottom right hand corner where you have intersecting tangents. Now we're moving to looking at angle measurements. So far we've been looking at segment lengths. So now we're back to angles. So remember, this rule said this arc measure here minus this arc measure here divided by 2 will give you that angle. We have a similar problem to number 7. We want to find the measure of this angle right here, ABC. So we are going to take this arc measure and subtract that one and divide it by 2 to get that angle right there. So remember, we can figure out what this arc measure is by taking 360 all the way around, subtracting what we know, which is 98. So that gives us 260 degrees for this arc measure. I misspoke again. I called this 260. It is 262. Now we use a rule that we just went over. So we're going to take this 262. We're going to subtract the 98. We are going to divide by 2. And our answer here is 82 degrees. And that would give us this measure here would be 82 degrees. All right, so hopefully you are good to go on problems 5, 6, and 7.